If you want the music scene to be amazing, get Nicki Minaj here in Blue Note.
What about you? What's that?
Fucking 100 years ago.
That's like 10 years ago though. It would kill
Nicki
the
Minaj.
What do you reckon?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Just don't know what's happening.
Derby. Well,
My
let's begin
mood
with Derby.
just
I
changed.
think Derby music scene has got a lot of potential.
Derby scene, I think it's reasonably healthy.
This won't last
Derby music scene's relatively healthy.
It's a good place.
but I
Derby is
just
great
sit
for music.
back until
For the size of the city, probably as good as anywhere else.
if I had it my way,
It's alright. It's getting better, I have to say.
It's a bag of fucking shit, mate. I haven't seen a good band come out of Derby in about 10 years.
Oi.
Sorry, Sam.
hit and miss.
It's a lot smaller than, say, what I'm used to coming from Nottingham.
There's a lot that could be removed and it would be a lot better.
And I don't want to see lads in spandex. That's what I do you want to see that?
Not particularly. No.
Leslie, do you want to see lads in spandex? There you go.
Started feeling normal, and then the tiredness begun to kick in.
Supposed to be recluses, they're going
I
to
know
be
it's crash again. I like being the man in the background, the shadow man.
You can throw stuff off each other.
I think you may have noticed that in the past, like in Calgary.
I like to get the scorpions and stir them up and stuff
Yeah.
like
I'm the one that's just sort of trying to keep everybody happy. Okay, my name's Dave Hill from BPM Records.
I'm Neil Treese. I run, for want of a better word, Derby Live Lounge. I'm an independent promoter, but first and foremost, an absolute massive music fan.
So tell me about Derby music scene.
Derby music scene's relatively healthy. We've got several venues. We've got the Flower Pot, who specialise in tributes and blues. The Hairy Dog, who specialise more in punk and metal. The venue, which is indie. The Vic, which is more on the indie and punk type of such as Derby Assembly Rooms, Guildhall. There's also quite a few open mic nights in Derby, places like Brewery Tap, Ryan. Healthy music scene in Derby.
Derby. Well, where to begin with Derby? It's a good place. It's not overly big, but the music scene has taken me quite a lot by surprise since I've entered it, and that was in December 2012. There was actually a lot more opportunities than what I thought. As soon as you've got your profile picture with you with your guitar, people very suddenly seem to be interested in wanting you to play things, and people might think, you know, I need to have this slot filled, say, well, that's this guy seems to be doing quite a lot of shows at the minute, etc, etc. But then maybe some people, you know, they do think, yeah, I'll have that guy play again sometime, you know, it sounds pretty cool. I did an open mic gig at the Brian's Bar in Derby, which is a great place to kind of just turn up and play. I had people coming up to me singing my lyrics after the show as I was outside having a chat. I enjoyed quite a few of the acts down there. It was the host who hosted the open mic. I'd definitely see him again, and I wouldn't mind playing for him again. One of the big problems quite often with, especially a scene like Derby, which is you know, quite a small place. The graduate gig that I did, I played there twice now. I was practically playing to myself. It was just like practicing in my living room. Maybe the music scene needs to have more of a promotions touch. What's lacking from the Derby scene is a variation of styles, I would say. Quite a lot of your people, your average, you know, musicians from the Derby area, especially acoustic, seem to do very similar things, but I don't think there's anything different. Sometimes you do need that one person who stands out. There is quite a lot of variation of bands around the area, especially as you're going on towards like the Nottingham area. Quite often bands come from Nottingham to play in Derby. I'd always say there's not enough. There's always you know, time for people to come in and start doing a thing. I think the more artists you've got on the scene, the better. There is some bands out there who they're probably not doing what they should be, or they're not achieving what they should be, but I think they should just keep going. People, you know, that they're paid to see a band play well. It's one thing that Derby lacks is the amount of full music venues that there is. When I say full music venues, I mean not just a venue that's also a restaurant, also just a bar, but has live acts on. I think what Derby needs is they need a proper, a nice kind of venue. Well, it doesn't have to be nice. It could be, you know, like Rock City Nottingham, rough around the edges, but also packs an amazing punch, and it attracts big people as well as local talent as such. So yeah, I think Derby does need a. I mean, we have the Victoria Inn. It's a great place for doing gigs, especially if you're starting off. And there's some great bands come there over the years, but I still think it's too small.
bands are still pulling people in. But right now it seems to be based on bandwagons, so to speak. A group of people think the band's going to get big and suddenly jump on board to be affiliated with the band rather than actually giving a shit about what they're caring about what the music is. But people's priorities have changed to the fact that they'd rather be seen listening to the music. It's cool. But the majority of the younger genres, I mean, as soon as you go into like the ska and like death metal and stuff like that, you'll have a big following, punk as well, but that's never going to push. That's going to stay at the same level. The genres and the bands are going to go further and further and further. These things are of our age and backed up by people who want to be a part of it rather than.
So it's kind of even like a stylistic, fashionable kind of thing.
It's the right approach to what I've seen. Because suddenly, as soon as Varney got signed, their gigs started selling out, and they weren't selling out before they got big. It's catch-22. I mean, we've had huge bands here that come to play, and no one's been here. There's a few local bands that are pushing it and trying it, but I think until one band really makes it, people won't care about that. We've got a surplus of bands and not enough originality and not enough something to stand on top of water. It's waterlogged and no one's swimming. That thing.
For the size of the city, probably as good as anywhere else. I mean, you've got to remember Derby isn't really a city. It's more like a town with a big church. Quite a strong good music scene in Derby. I mean, ranging from hardcore metalcore to punk to your normal metals, you have death metal, black metal, new wave of fucking metal. There's a following for most things in Derby. Your indie crowd's quite strong now. There's some good bands coming through on the indie, the hardcore. Punk scene's probably going down a little bit at the moment, but that always goes up and down. That's like horse nipples. You'll have bands doing really well and all of a sudden fold in, and then something else will come and take its place. So the punk scene, with the punk scene, it's a little bit different because although there's a good following of punk in Derby, you can pick up like some fairly big names for not massive amounts of money, and you can pull in the crowds through finding the local supports is sometimes an issue, but the metal scene's getting better again. That's picking up. So there's some very good hardcore bands in Derby now. That's a very healthy scene, and there's a lot of sort of the indie stuff and pop punk stuff coming through as well.
I think Derby's a really good hive of activity and kind of creativity in lots of different subgenres and kind of areas of entertainment. But there's kind of too much going on in one place for the size of the city it is. So I think a lot of some of the reasons that like the Rock House and the Bell and various other places haven't stuck around or gotten bigger is because people are there's too many subgenres and niche groups going on for it to be sort of sustainable. It's got like the level of activity and creativity of a bigger city like Manchester, but not the people to support it. It's certainly not struggling. I think entertainment as a whole, live entertainment is struggling, and it's just I think it's affected with that. But yeah, it's a cool place to be. It's interesting.
Quite oversaturated. Bands over gigs, promoters overbooked bands. Can you agree? Derby's music scene's oversaturated. Yeah. Like too many bands play the same shows all over. There's a lot of there's quite a bit of ego floating about as well. Everyone seems to be quite self-centered. Doesn't want to help anyone else out. It's just all about you need to help people out and them to help you out.
It's a lot smaller than, say, what I'm used to coming from Nottingham.
Do you think there should be more places to play?
Yeah, well,
I say that, I know of the Viking, the Hairy Dog, and a couple other places. I feel like there maybe is a lot more places to play, but they are maybe well enough advertised. I think don't know as much as they should about what venues they are, you know, like what there is to gig at. I think there could be a lot more done to help us. Everyone seems to follow each other, to be honest, and I think music should be less about what's cool and more about what you fucking want to do. You know, like, fuck the post-hardcore shit, fuck the you mean sick shit, like, no, it's what you want to do, what you think is cool, not what other people think is cool. That's what's lacking, inspiration and creativity.
What I'd like to see is none of the band can sound exactly the fucking same.
Use that.
Bullshit, I'm bored of having to go to a metal night. I use metal like that because it's not metal, it's a bunch of dick.
If you go out and you haven't got 2 arms full of tattoos and your chest tattooed, you're fucking nothing. That's bullshit.
There's some rubbish out there, there's some video clips of good stuff, and there's some fantastic stuff out there. You know, obviously, if every band was fantastic, you know, then it doesn't work.
Derby Live is a place, is meant to be like a community in Derby for live music, dance, art, the arts, culture basically. They don't know anything about Derby's music scene, but they're involved whatsoever with it.
They lack imagination. I don't think Derby City Council should be venue operators. I really don't. I think that is the issue. They should be having more conversations with independent promoters and people that want to take the venues on and be receptive to that. Not that there's a problem. I mean, if you go to them, you can book the venue. Yeah. It's just that at the moment they're setting the agenda for the types of entertainment. In the silver line, make you smile. No disrespect to public servants in any way, but the mindset is different to a promoter, to an entrepreneur, to a band. The thing is, if there's anybody that really has got a handle on the Derby music movement, particularly for that 18 to 28 sector. Been 2 years since we parted, and I'm wondering how the hell this
Live is not really involved with Derby's music scene anyway, not as it should be anyway.
I think it's just very uncoordinated. I don't think there's any pitch at the key demographic, and whether you like it or not, the key demographic in music is the 18 to 28 age group. That's where the money is. You know? Don't believe this nonsense about poor students. Students have always got money for entertainment.
There's a little area that I also feel a bit strongly towards about the student population in Derby and the student union trying to keep the students to themselves, and they do not really help outside promoters promoting their venues. you're a student coming to Derby, you could almost be oblivious to the fact that there is a city centre and there are lots of live venues with bands on, because they want to keep them to themselves, and they don't encourage anybody to actually encroach in their area to promote their gigs.
I would go further than that.
Yeah.
I'd go stronger. I'd say they're very protectionist.
No, very-
You can't put flyers out or anything like that, you know, unless you get permission.
Do you think the likes of Derby Live and the council and that area, should they be doing more to help? They seem like they don't have anything to do with...
Right,
like,
I don't know, the people at Derby Live are actually quite cool. I've worked with them a few times and they're good people. The problem you have is you've got the Assembly Rooms, which is the most expensive venue of its size in the country. Right? Now, it's council run. It should be subsidised, not more expensive. It should be less expensive.
Maybe we could do with a little bit of support from people like the council as well. I know we'll never get it. The bottom line is, I've never quite understood why things like Derby Jazz gets financially supported, but myself and Neil, who were going to do a different type of music, wouldn't get any financial support. I can't get my head around that one. I dare say if you were promoting classical music, I dare say you're getting support for it. And I don't understand that. I'm quite got that one. You know, why does Derby Jazz, who can actually put nights on and it not be profit making, in fact probably lose a fortune every time they put a gig on, you know, it's because it's funded. Why is that funded, and why, if I wanted to put acoustic bands on, why wouldn't I be funded?
I love jazz, I love classical music, but why that is in some way set at some sort of higher precedent, I don't really understand. It doesn't seem reasonable, and it doesn't seem reflective of the population, particularly with Derby being a university town.
Occasionally you have gigs like Evolution, which is local bands doing a day festival, but it's not organised by Derby Live, it's organised by DR. But Derby Live have nothing to do with it, nor care about it, so they don't even promote it. It's not good enough.
Right. Now, I mean, I've been offered some shows that I'd love to put on at the Assembly Rooms, but because of the prices they charge, it's impossible.
They tried to charge you for the bar as well.
Absolutely everything. They want 10% of all merch sales from the bands. All the ticket sales have to go through their ticket box, right? And they want 10% of that, as well as the fee of whatever they want for the room and whatever else. And then, you know, their prices for the place is absolutely ridiculous. And then when you do that, they understaff it, so there's not enough bar staff on, there's not enough this, that and the other. And so what are you paying for? This is why it needs a medium-sized venue in Derby to actually probably give the Assembly Rooms a kick up the arse a bit, you know, because, you know, I mean, as I said, I've looked at putting a few gigs on there, which I could have sold out. I could have sold the shows out, but I would still lost money, even by selling it out, because of their costs. You know, so yes, I do believe they should be doing a hell of a lot more, especially the council need to look at the Assembly Rooms and why it's not booked by outside promoters as it should be. You know, the only shows that are put on there are by Derby Live. You know, it just doesn't work.
The problem is though it's the perception of Derby as an outlet for bands. I think there's this feeling that bands will play Nottingham rather than Derby, and that's not really justified, because if you know the history of sort of Derby and Nottingham, it's as different as chalk and cheese really, and people won't travel that 12 or 13 miles, and yet there's a massive population, like 250,000 or something in Derby. So there is the demand and there is the scope for, want for a better word, more serious music venues. But the footprint is a problem. The space just isn't around in Derby at the right numbers, because if you want to run a small open mic night, then you can cope with sort of 50 or 100 capacity. If you want to start putting bands on and making sure they get properly paid for the time, then you need a bigger footprint because you need to sell the tickets. So it's one of basic economics as much as anything. I don't think there's anything wrong with the audience in Derby. There isn't anything wrong with the bands. Some great bands come out of Derby. More accurately, they leave Derby and go elsewhere, and that's a bit of a shame.
There is, I believe, a need for a bigger live music venue in Derby, and it's something I'm looking into at the moment. I don't think you can go too big in Derby, because I've tried it and failed miserably. But I think around about 500-600 cap venue would succeed.
Let's do it. Right, so tell me how the gig was.
Pretty good. A bit weird. We used to have quite a lot of movement in our previous gigs that we've had. This is our 5th gig to date now. Past 4 we've had quite a lot of movement, and it's been, people have really got into our stuff, but with the rules here, can't have too much movement with the massive pillars and stuff.
Yeah.
So. But it was good though, it was really good, wasn't it? Yeah, it was amazing. More people as well.
Where's your favourite place to play?
Harry Dog.
Probably
Easy.
Dog so
Yeah.
far.
Yeah, supported Nemo J there Friday the 17th.
Yeah, the stage was really big, so, and the movement was really great, and we got to support Nemo J, so that was amazing. Yeah.
More people can turn up to gigs. You know what I mean? People going about
We get a
how...
good enough turnout, but...
Yeah, but people going about how, oh yeah, music scene's dying out, but then they don't turn up to gigs, you know what I mean?
You always get those people who say they're going to come and then last minute, oh, I can't make it, which obviously doesn't help the local scene at all.
And another thing we've noticed as well, you see like headlining bands go later on, and people just seem to fade
They
away.
seem to disappear, don't they?
It's too late for some people.
Nobody seems to stick around.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
But there are good points, don't worry. There are definitely
We're
good
very
points.
negative.
We sound very negative.
I think it would be good as well if we had more events where local bands could all pull together. Mostly because we've played with Club at the Day second time now, and we're getting quite a good bond with them. Sort of trying to set up further gigs. If we could have more sort of metal events, get more local bands involved, introduce people to other people, I think you can really kickstart something in the scene.
Yeah, got to get a good friendship up with other bands and just do things with them, like other
We have
gigs
played with
out
some
of
pretty
places.
decent bands, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean like Club at the Day, we played with them the first time in like our second gig, and we invited them back. They're just crazy good.
And then being from out of town as well, we've got gigs lined up for our out of town sort of thing. So we're broadening, we're helping them and they're sort of helping us at the same time.
should be promoted.
Promoters.
Gig as well.
Don't get me started on promoters.
Can we be more negative?
Promoters. No.
We won't name any names, but promoters don't
Craig,
promote.
the way Craig Hall promoted the Emo J gig was brilliant.
Yeah.
That is your
Make
system.
sure people know about it, but most promoters, they don't promote.
They just get you to promote your own gig, and that's kind of hard when you've got like minimum based fans and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to do
as well. That we've actually physically set up ourselves, actually contacted the venue, got bands in. If they did stick the neck out a bit more, so looking to play people to play for you, and people actually promoted it, that's well.
I mean, we enjoy playing, but it's a bit hard when it's not organised the way it should be.
So, what do you think there should be more of, if there's anything kind of particular?
More bands,
more promoters that do the job.
More heavy bands.
More heavy bands, yes.
More people that actually turn up to gigs who say they're going to.
Yeah.
Like for the Nemo J gig, we actually had to put some of our own money in to the ticket fund, and we had to like go and collect the money off people.
Chase it up, really.
Chase it up,
Yeah,
and
really
I didn't get some of it
people
back, but that's alright because I got that back in the end from my own money. So. But yeah, if you need to, well, if you say you're going to come to a gig, come to a gig. Just don't miss it out.
Because it's good. It's a good night out. People don't realise that. Like you could probably come to a gig and find a band and think, yeah, these are like we've done with Club at the Day.
Yeah.
They are.
If they hadn't come to Derby or we hadn't have gone to a gig, we wouldn't have known about them. We wouldn't have got into them. I mean, they're really good. You'll find so many good bands in your local scene. You wouldn't know about them. Just go down to the gigs and say thank you.
People shouldn't be prompted to come down to gigs just because we ask them. Like, they should want to come down, want to experience it. So, yeah, definitely more of that.
Say you're going to a gig, just do it.
Yeah, people should come down to more gigs. You'll find bands that you've never heard of, but you'll love them.
You should talk to us afterwards. We're easy enough to talk.
We're live!
Thank you. You've been awesome.
If the band haven't got a following, then what they're doing? If people don't like what they're doing, then fucking do something else. You know, if they could only pull in 3 people on a Thursday night, I mean, how many were in the bands? 6. So they haven't got one friend each. They got half a friend each and turn up and watch it. I'm sorry, but that is an apple. You know, if you can't get your friends to turn up to a show. Now, a lot of the time, especially the younger bands in Derby, play way too much. You know, they'll play Derby fucking once a week, twice a week, whatever else. You can't expect your friends to turn up. You should only ever play your own city, tops, once a month. You play any more than that, you can't get anyone to turn up to the shows. Right? You know, I know starting out is very difficult to get gigs anywhere else. You know, spend more time practicing then. Right? Get better without actually. Because as I said, if you're just gonna keep playing shows in your hometown, you're not going to get anybody there.
I think Derby music scene has got a lot of potential, but the bands haven't got the right direction. They're not doing things how they should to make themselves get better publicity, I suppose. Like, for example, a lot of bands will gig, like say, twice a week at the same venue or in the same city, and people stop coming to go to the gigs, and they're just playing in front of an empty crowd and they wonder why. It's not because they don't like the music, it's because they don't want to see the music being played every week, and they don't want to pay to do that either. So if they had a manager, they get told to play once a month or even once every 2 months in the same city, and concentrate on rehearsing and making a really big show and impressing people to get the fans. So yeah, I think there's not enough direction for them. Obviously, when it comes to recording, I record music and stuff. I get quite a few bands in that won't rehearse, and they're not as tight as they should be for a recording.
Obviously, like I know, again, back in the night, it was like the digital thing was just coming in, but it wasn't that prevalent what it is now. So everything that went onto like reel to reel, and you had to, your performances had to be good, because the editing facilities weren't there, like for comping and auto-tune. A lot of times you only had, I've recorded in some old bands where you had 8 tracks, and that was it.
There's a lot of bands that want recording, definitely. There's a lot of studios or producers that will do it. But going back to my last point on what I was saying about they're making the wrong choices or doing things wrong, a lot of bands are doing this with the recording. They know what technologies are out there, what you can do, auto-tune, quantizing, putting stuff in time, cutting and chopping. So they don't really rehearse. They think it's going to be like playing live as well. They won't rehearse for a recording. So they go to a recording session and it sounds bad and they'll be upset. Or they'd expect the producer to do all the work for them to make it really good.
Could be like being arguing, still good bands now, but like say back then when you didn't have them facilities to, like you do like 10-second bursts on drums now, and that on say in Pro Tools you can copy them all together. When them days, drummer had to like sort of nail the track. If it was a breakdown, then it makes a mistake. Coming back after the breakdown, you can sort of drop him in, and there's punchings and things like that. But and like the performance had to be better. And a lot of time it was done live as well, where the bare bones of the track, sort of like the drums and the bass and the guitars and that, were all played live and recorded live onto the separate tracks. And it had to be good. And you had to really, really rehearse well as well. Well, now you get bands who could have really strong songs, but not very good at performing them. But with time in the studio, you can make them sound really polished.
They should really look at who's going to be doing the recording, do the research on the producers. If you're a metal band and you want a metal sound, don't go to a producer that records folk music every day. Vice versa. If you're a folk artist, don't go to a metal studio that records something but metal, because they're not going to love your music. It's all about love. You're not going to like the music they're recording, so they're not going to put as much effort into it. And when you're not rehearsed, they're not going to spend hours fixing it for you.
Because they know that the technology can make them sound good. They use it as a safety net. There's like the old saying as well, you can fix it in the mix, can't you? Or can you repeat that bit? That comes a lot. That does. They play the verse one. They want you to if it's done to a click or something like that, they want to sort of repeat it. Rather than playing it again and putting, playing the same bass line, so to speak, but just probably put different inflections, and they don't want to do that. They just want to just copy and paste it over.
When bands get this demo CD or this recording that they've done, that they think they're happy with it, they think it's brilliant, and then they send it off to people in the industry to get stuff like radios and stuff like that. They get disappointed because they don't get any feedback, or people don't like the recordings and stuff like that.
Just get ignored.
What?
They get ignored.
Well, they get ignored, yeah.
A lot of people in bands and players who think that they've got good chops and they're good, and when they get to the studio and it's recorded cleanly, nicely, and listen back on good speakers and realise how you can't really play that well. You know, and it's like time problems, a lot of frustration there. There's also a lot, you know, when like the red light goes on, so to speak, a lot of them just go to bits as well.
If you're going to show yourself off, you need to make sure your recordings are going to show you off. If you're going to go and get a crap demo done, like you're all that time, the guy's charging you by the hour, so you don't want to pay loads, so you can't be bothered to sit there mixing it and fixing it, mixing out the rhymes. You're going to end up with a crap demo. You're going to send it to these people, and then well, the band's not informed, they're not as good as they should be to go on the radio, that's it. You will never get listened to again.
I see some bands, or I see some videos of bands on, you know, on YouTube, someone doing gigs and playing away and like, they think, you know, they think like the Dogs Bollocks and they're great and that, but when you actually get into the studio and that, then you realise how bad technique is and how they can't get on and play. And also how the passion's not there as well, you know, the recording some people, and you know, if there's a musical break into the song, you know, where, you know, the bass player or the guitar isn't playing for like 16 bars, you know, I've actually turned around and seen them on the mobile, on Facebook, you know, and like, to me, that, you know, I want to see like passion, integrity, you know, people taking it seriously, not sort of like, you know, coming in and, you know, just using that little break in the song to tweet somebody or, you know, do a Facebook thing. But I think that comes from the, yeah, from the way technology is now, where it's gone, is where there's no pressure anymore in some respect. You know, if they play something that's completely out of time, you know, you can sort of nudge it and twist it, and pitch it. You know, same with the vocals as well. So yeah,
he's quite a talented young thing. Oh, they say Jules dropped it all when he would sing. Till one day, men with fake smiles and suits and ties came along with false promises of better things. And they said, sunshine, you're gonna be a superstar. Pools and sports cars, girls and mini bars. There'll be blue skies for our little superstar. Hey, hey, oh.
He's never really produced a hugely successful band. Yeah, the Beekeepers did reasonably well in the 80s, or maybe 90s, so I'd probably turn back 10 years there. Yeah, probably they did okay in the 90s. White Town had a number one single. Joe Jackson, people claim, but he's actually from Burton. But there's not really been a big name from Derby, unless you can think of
James Morrison.
Yeah, well, he wasn't from Derby.
Yeah,
he studied in
but
Derby.
Ryan's claim.
And he did do some sessions at Ryan's. Yeah, but no, we've never really had a huge artist from Derby.
I mean, Antipasti, of course.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
they're playing again in September. Come back gigs.
Yeah, I'm going to say there have been some great bands. When I moved to Derby in the 80s. We used to have a lot of bands playing at the Blue Note at the time, and that would get packed, and there was a really healthy live music scene then, and bands such as Egyptian Kings and Junior C Reaction would pack the places out, and that would be a paying audience.
Spandau Ballet.
Yeah.
£3.75.
I found where 3 played there. Yeah, so yeah, you know, it used to be a really good live venue. I've seen
Oasis and Blur have played.
yeah, they played at the Warehouse.
We wrote these lyrics for you, so no, out of sight is never out of mind. The heart's only curse is avoided, leave behind. Don't you know, out of sight is never out of mind. The heart's only curse is avoided, please. Don't try to.
The percentage of people who go to live music now is probably lower than it's ever been. Right. You know, the manufactured music is the bane of my life. The chart crap that goes out, you know, with Simon Cowell's rubbish. It's killing the music. Without a doubt.
How was the Derby scene? Music
In the
scene?
90s?
In the 90s.
Well, different music is what it is now, obviously. I mean, like I said before, I think it's more sort of like punk poppy.
You'd say that there was a lot of really good bands at that time.
Yeah, there was a lot of good bands. Yeah, I mean, like Beekeepers, obviously, who, you know, they got quite big. But you know, I think I heard their CD the other day actually. First Harmonies, and yeah, it was like I say, very sound of the 90s. You know, sort of that. Yeah, it's quite like punky, you know, punky sounding, but like, you know, melodic. You know, big melodies, big choruses. That wasn't about, you know, sort of getting the, you know, the big choruses and nothing. Yeah, it was healthy. Yeah, like I say, there was like loads of venues. Like I say, there's like a place called Bar 101, which is like the big church on St. Peter Street. It's called Bar 101 because like all drinks are £1 one. And you walked in and out at a really, really dead high stage. It must have been about 20 foot high, and all the bands played on top of there. I mean, I remember then, you know, you could charge a quid, for example, but, you know, I remember gigs and my own gigs were promoted, you know, you was charging like, you know, £2.50 for a pre-ticket and £3 on the door, and sometimes it was, you know, it was up to £4. So it sounds to me like the prices of them are the same as what they are now, you know, and people still used to pay it, yeah.
So people were more willing back then to...
Yeah, it's more willing. And you used to get quite a lot of walking. But I find at Vic sometimes as well, you used to get quite a bit of walking customers as well, just come in. And just used to, yeah, just because I want to see bands. And it's quite like a vibrant scene in some respects. It's probably, I don't know if it's something to do with the internet these days, it's sort of like diluted.
So there was some guarantee back then that you could walk into a gig and it's going to be good.
Yeah. People used to travel quite a bit more as well. Like they come up on the train or the bus, and I expect the train was to Vic because you come straight on the train, walk straight across the road. Obviously, then the drinks were a bit cheaper as well. Or, you know, and a lot of people used to sort of like sneak drinks in, which I think is probably the same sort of thing now with some people. But I don't know how it works now with the Vic. We used to get a lot of touring bands as well come from Vic. It was like the mainstay of you know, like the tour, so, you know, people go to Birmingham or something like that, and like Stoke and Leicester and like Derby, like the Vic would be on the tour schedule. So from like 90 sort of when I was doing it, not like 92 to sort of like, you know, around 2000, 2001, it was sort of dying down right now, but, you know, and especially like mid-90s, like 95 to 98, it was like, did feel like there was quite a little vibrant scene. Definitely, you know, a lot of good bands. But yeah, you know, I remember going to see bands, especially like bands like Gorilla and stuff, and like Cable, and you get in the Vic and it's absolutely rammed, you know, just like full of people. It was massive. So with the rock acts as well, like, you know, you just put like gigs on the Vic, and it was too much interest, or not too, well, you know, a lot of interest. So you used to like go there to the Rock House and play there. You know, we used to get big bands together there as well, so it used to be like really full, good sound system and that. So, you know, more people came to see live music because it, you know, it was played well and the bands were good and had more energy. You know.
Whereas nowadays,
Yeah, I've gone and seen some bands where, you know, I mean, I respect them getting up there doing it and that, but you know, you see some bands and you know, you can hear that they've not worked on the craft of musicianship, like, you know, the guitars or the drums and the vocals are, you know, not great, and the argument there where the scene then was probably had more integrity.
Struggle because they could be open, you know, Friday, Saturday and get people in, but the rest of the week people weren't supporting it. Rock House, probably the same sort of scenario. I would have thought it's supporting a venue for more than 1 or 2 nights a week, and that's where the problem lies. And you know, as you know, there's expression: if you don't use it, you lose it. And I think that's happened a lot in Derby, and people have got to go out and support live music.
I hope to open up like a 600 cap venue sort of early start of next year, and then bringing in some bigger bands into Derby. I'd like to see more cooperation between promoters, venues. You know, we've tried in the past, but it always seems to fall apart a little bit. I don't know, it just never seems to. I think people get to. This is my bit, and you can't have it. Now I know that's difficult because obviously it's our living, you know, but I think as you make it grow, I think you've got to be a little bit more open, you know, and trying to get the bands to a bigger audience. I honestly believe that, you know, there's too much red tape in this game, I think, you know, but that's just everything nowadays. Health and safety is a bloody nightmare, you know, you've got to babysit everybody, you know, nobody's responsible for their own actions anymore, you know, it's always has to be somebody's fault.
Local media aren't great at covering events in Derby. Now, I've got a mixed view on that. I think, you know, it's for promoters to promote, but nevertheless, you need a little bit of help from time to time from your local media. And I was looking, particularly the Derby Evening Telegraph, I was looking at the demographic of the readership. Almost none of it is in the 18 to 28 bracket. So do you follow the logic? Well, you know, we won't talk about issues in music that demographic, or do you take the view, well, let's try and get those people interested in Derby Evening Telegraph by talking about music venues. But I think it's one of those things that have been cutbacks across all media. Unless you get somebody on the desk that deals with and has an interest in live music, then you're just not going to get the coverage. But that is something I've seen consistent as a criticism. Same for radio. I mean, Derby Radio do a few things. Andy Potter does a few things with new artists. But the commercial stations, unless you're actually paying, they're not least bit interested. So, you know, there's a combination of factors where Derby has gone off the spotlight.
I think it's reasonably healthy. I think it could be a lot better. But if you work it on average throughout the country, I mean, London's music scene is struggling. You know, they're nowhere near as many gigs as there used to be. Festivals are going down, but I think that's a bit of a godsend. I think there's been way too many festivals and stuff. It's like everyone's got on the bandwagon. Now, the trouble we have with this is everyone thinks they're supporting the live music scene by going to festivals. You're not. There's so few bands that can make it nowadays, or get anywhere close to making it, because there's not enough people turning up to small gigs to see people. And those bands are never going to get on the major festivals because nobody knows them. But more bands from Derby need to get out of Derby and play other shows where, you know, they're supporting other people, and, you know, but you don't do that by networking. talking to other bands, you know, and especially staying and watching the other bands instead of just pissing off, like chatting to them afterwards, you know. So, you know, I can organise a show for you in Derby. Do you reckon you could get me one in Mansfield or, you know, wherever they're from, you know? So, or Burton, or, you know, it doesn't have to be miles away, you know. Just get out of Derby.
Derby is great for music. More people need to find out about it. And there's only so much people such as myself and Dave do. We don't have unlimited budgets. You know, I put my own money into every single event that I do. And if I break even, I'm happy. Okay? Sometimes I come out with a small profit. That's even better. That allows me to roll that into the next thing. Okay? We need some tangible support. You know, we need media coverage. We need funding. We need venue space. We need the willingness of artists such as Derby Council to cooperate with us.
Yep, I go along with that. Very much so.
This is my lullaby. When you're way up high.
I don't really know. Are you not? I hadn't really thought about that. Anyway, we're going. So.
It's a bunch of dickheads in height. Shorts and shorts and cut off shorts. Like, no, not even cut off shorts, cut off jeans into shorts. Look fucking ridiculous. They look ridiculous. Can't sing, they can't play guitar properly. And if they can, all they do is fucking sweep it. They look like.
What do you think of the Derby music team, basically?
Come again, I will come again, I will come again, I'll be coming on your chin. I will come again, I will come again, I will come again, I'll be coming on your chin.
I'm not sure he's on about Power Metal.
I will come again, I will come again, I'll be coming on your chin. I will come again.
And I don't want to see lads in spandex.
Come again, I'll be coming on your chin. I want your knickers, I want your knickers. I want your knickers down below your knees. I want your knickers, I want your knickers. I want your knickers down below your knees. I want your knickers, I want your knickers.
Shows a lot, doesn't it?
I want your knickers, I want your knickers.
I've got some blue.
This Fletch that they're laughing.
You know, and nowadays, I don't feel like there's that much places to play.
Are we together?
We're together now.
Do you fancy me?
I'll do a little bit, Dan. A little bit.
There's a lot that could be removed and it'd be a lot better.
Like
spandex.
Right, you are Blooper Kings.